Hello and welcome to this new beas Industry Solutions webinar. Today we will talk about the beas product configurator. My name is Carlos Herrero. I'm Vice President of beas Group, and again, I'm pleased to provide this session for you today. Let's refresh some concepts regarding our licenses and functionality. In the introduction webinar, we explained it. We have beas Basic, which contain or which has the biggest part of our functionality, but additionally we have other modules our customers can use depending on what they need. Today we will focus on the product configurator, which provides a solution to manage variants in our business in a very efficient way. Let's talk about some of the key functions and benefits in the beas product configurator. We are able to manage the product characteristics and variants directly in the Business One menu, where we will find the parameters, variables, formulas, functions, conditions, rules, and more. Additionally, I visualized support of the configuration with pictures, for example, graphics, and more information directly in the configuration. Assignment of the configuration structure to fields, information of items, multi-level bill of materials, and routing. User interface for the configuration of products according to application, automatic generation of a dynamic user interface and guided selection. And in the case of some customers are demanding a very specific screen, then we are able to provide an statics user interface to fill in the selection parameters. We provide an integrated workflow in sales quotations and order management processes, calculation of sales prices, creation of product test information, generation of product structures which we can modify as basis of bottom-up calculation of cost and margin in case of order entry conversion to work order data. Direct creation of the work order data, including multi-level bill of materials and routing, of course, and generation of new item master data, items and bill of materials and routing. Automatic recognition of already existing product variants. We are able to present a pattern number or directly the item number as default value. We are able also to consider the stock or availability of variants. Let's have a look at the business process we will see today. It is configure to order, and we will use the beas product configurator to deal with that. We can start using the product configurator from a sales order or from a sales quotation in Business One. Of course, we have previously defined some data at the level of the item, so we have master data. And then from those documents, from the quotation or the order, we are able to open the product configurator wizard, which is on a screen that shows the different variants are defined in the item from where we can start to make our selection according to the customer demand. Once we have the product configurator, we can directly create a work order. Of course, considering all the selection and the variants are defined, or if we need to do additional modifications are out of the range of the variants, so this is kind of engineered to other process as well, but starting from the product configurator, then we can open the pre-calculation functionality in beas, make our additional modifications, and at the end then of course to create a work order. So this is the business process we will see today. So let's move now to the system directly to see some of the examples I've prepared, and then we could have a better idea about the possibilities we provide with our solution. Okay, here we are in SAP Business One. Let's start then with the business process I described it. For that, we will go to the sales area and we will start by creating a sales quotation. Let's select our customer, for example, Paramet Technology, and this customer is asking for an item. I have IC2210, a truck door kit. This customer is asking for one. We will produce for them, and then I have a predefined price according to predefined master data. But if I click now with the right button, then we have some options coming from beas, and one of those is configuration new. So let's make our configuration, because of course the customer is providing some specifications regarding colors and sizes and so on. So then we open the product configurator screen, which looks, of course, like a wizard, where we have the description. We can include some pictures and then descriptions. And then if I go to properties, then here is where I can start selecting these properties. I expanded the screen, then you can see we not only have these different variants, but then of course prices will depend on the different selections. For example, here I have in properties three variants. Then we have metal profile length, and then I will say, well, we want it with 30. The color, in this case, we will select, for example, a yellow color. And the width, if I click here, then you see a drop down appear. So there are different possibilities, of course, to make this selection and how to show that in the screen. In this case, I will select, for example, 600. Okay. Of course, depending, and again, on the selection, then price will move. If I go to accessories, then I have here, then you see I have handle type, square and round. Of course, price depends on what I select. But let me show you something here also interesting. What if I select, for example, 22? If I go to accessories, then you see the handle type available for that size is only the square. So we can define some variants depending on some others. These, if I come back to handle type, then I see only one here. But if I select now 30, because I added a rule only, and a second one, in this case is round, is available in the case of 30. This could affect later the finished item structure or bill of material, but also the sub-assemblies and more. If I go then to results, then you see a summary of the information according to the different selections we did. The metal profile length is 30. This is there for the price. Of course, it is in euros because of my database is in euros, or my currency in my system is in euros. The color is yellow color. The width is then for 400. We can also display that here. And handle type, the one I have selected was round. So this is the total price, 652 euros. If I go to definitions, then you see, well, this is of course the original item code, which is including all the variants, definitions, and more, is IC2210. A brief description automatically has been created, and you see here yellow 600. This is a small script I added, so we can define our own rules, of course. Then an additional description has been created as well, and the price is 652. We are able to generate an item code automatically. In the case we will later stock, for example, this item, this is an item we typically will later produce, or other customers are demanding these items. So instead of do a new configuration every time, then we can create, if we need it, then we can create an item code, and the product configurator will detect a new configuration, for example, and we say, hey, we already have an item code with this configuration, so then it will simply take this previous calculation. We can load all variants, we define it, and then simply copy here. Or in this case, I will simply click in update, because this is a special, let's say, door I'm preparing for this customer with this yellow color and the sizes I've selected. So this is okay. Of course, I can always come here and see, okay, what was exactly the selection we did? Okay, this is fine. So now you see the price in the sales quotation has been modified. It is 652. And here in the configuration field, we add in the sales quotation, then you see a number which is 160. This is because, of course, we generate a link between the quotation and this product configuration we did. So then I will say, okay, add my quotation in business one has been created. If I click here, I can open the latest one. So this is the tractor kit with the prices. Again, I can see this is the configuration. And if I click with the right button, then I can also click here to edit, and always I'm able to open again and to see what is it. And also, if it is needed, I'm able to do modifications because the customer call me again and say, hey, please change the color. I made a mistake. I don't want it yellow. I prefer it red. It's an example. So once we have the sales quotation created with the configuration we did, then I can simply transfer this quotation into a sales order in Business One. Here is a message because this customer exceeded the credit limit. Anyway, I will continue because I have rights to do that. And this is coming, of course, from this sales quotation. We have this door with this price, and also, of course, in the sales order, then we have the configuration. Again, if I click with the right button, then we are able to edit or have a look at the previous configuration was done. From here, I simply need to add, for example, delivery date, which I have selected, and then I will click in add. I don't have it on stock, but I will produce it because of this order, so I will continue. And again, this credit limit warning, and then I continue. So I have now my sales order with my configuration. Of course, I've started the utilization of the configuration, or I have started the configuration from a sales quotation, but you can start directly from a sales order in Business One if you want. Okay, so now here we have our configuration in our sales order. I click again with the right button, and as usual in beas, then from the sales order, of course, you can create a work order. In this case, I will create then the order. But I have another option here. What if the customer is asking me not only for the selection we did, which was sizes, colors, and an accessory, they also would like to do a small modification. We are able to open a new calculation based on the product configuration and later on customize the item. Let's have a look at first an example by simply creating an order. Then I click here to generate a work order. It was done. If I click again with the right button, then you see our order is here. And then I will open my work order where you see, well, this is the whole structure of the order. Let me expand this a little. You can see, for example, the round handle has been selected in the main bill of material. I have a door and a front panel and a back panel, which are sub-assemblies I have included in the work order. And then you can see here, for example, yellow ink, and of course, sizes or quantities of steel sheet and other materials will depends on the formulas or calculations I did before, which I will show you later in details. But let me delete that one because I want to show you what if we do an additional customization here in the sales order. If I click with the right button, now I don't have the order because I have deleted. So let me go then to a new calculation. And if I click here in new calculation, then we have our screen to, if it is needed, then I can change some part of the description. I can do some other modifications in the item information. But now if I come to this structure, we see here in the calculation we have yellow ink, we have these selected materials, we have the round handle, and more. So maybe I would like to, I don't know, this top track here, I would like to delete it. It is because my customer is very special and asked me to delete that one. We can change operations, we can add new items, we can do whatever we want in this item structure. So I will simply click in update. What I'm doing now is, of course, something is not related with the it's like an additional modification out of the variants we previously defined. So the system here is very flexible. In one hand, I have the configuration, but on top of this configuration, I did some extra modifications we recorded in this calculation. So I will update. And if I click now with the right button, I can create a new order, which I will do. The order has been created. And if I open the order, then we see here the structure of the item. One of the items I've defined is not anymore in the structure of the item. I think it was here in the position 40. Then you see we jump in the bill of material from 30 to 50 because of a very special requirement at my customer side. So now from here it is simply to proceed with the order in the same way we do with any other order, of course. So let me close this one here and let's have a look at the structure of the item. So how is then defined the different variants? How can we define the different rules in order to produce the item by using the product configurator? So let's go to the inventory area in the item structure and let's look for our item, which is this famous AC210. If I click here, you see the bill of material of the item, and then you see in some of the items in the bill of material, also in the subassembly, then you see not only a blue box, which is like standard bill of material, but we also see a kind of additional symbol with a F, with a red F, which is telling you there is a formula or a variant related with this item. Let's have a look first at the item details here in the configuration tab, because of course I have defined variants and other properties in this item. Then we will see data in the configuration tab. Let me try to expand this a little. Okay, and then you see there are an structure here of this item inside the tab, where we, in one hand, then we have the main information, fire truck door, and then we start to see some other elements in the structure, some formulas, for example, in some different areas, some pictures and graphics directly here, which help you to understand clearly and see clearly the structure of the item. So let's click here in the top where we can see different possibilities. First, we can deal with the block. The block is the main variant. In the case of our fire truck door, then we have description, then properties where we have something to select, or three different selections, and then accessories. This is first the block. Then inside the block, then we can define different parameters. And then, for example, in properties, different parameters we defined are the metal profile length, the color, and then the width. Okay. If I click again, then we have new info. This is simply information, text, and so on. New selection, and then, for example, I have included 16, 22, and 30. And depending, of course, on where you click, then you have more or less options. It makes sense to include information in the top, but then maybe, for example, some others, like new set parameters, where I'm able to define, well, colors, color type, and then here is where I include some formulas or some additional rules. You can copy part of the selection or part of the structure and paste in another property. So it's really flexible in order to build your own structure. If I go to fire truck door, for example, so this is the main part. This is the main item. I can use prices, and I can define, well, different currencies. I can take or decide I will take the price, the standard one, from SAP Business One, for example, and we can define which price list. We can also define, we will transfer the prices to Business One, for example, when we are doing the calculation, and we can define, in this case, some text when we do our selection, and then you see I transferred here the color, some space, and then the width, and this was how the system created the small brief. And if I click here in check, the system simply check this formula and show me here, well, in the case of a standard selection, then it will be red and 400, for example. And in the text description, then I have the possibility to add another rule. In this case, well, fire door, red, and 400. At the end, you see we are calling to some of the parameters or variants we define in the structure. If I come to the description, which is one of the blocks, then we are also able to select different to select pictures, the size, and more. If I go here in the information, this is an info part below the block. Then I selected here what is the picture, the size, what is the main description, the title, an additional text, for example, and we can here include additional rules to make it visible because of one or other specific condition. If I go then to properties, in the case of the properties, this is where I have defined three other parameters like meta profile length. If I double click here, I can define, well, how to show that. Is it a drop down? Is it boxes or different possibilities? We can define specific prices and more. If I go to the selection we can do, then if I click in 16, I can, well, this is the name, this is the description. We can set this mandatory. We can define a specific price, which I did, or the price is coming from a formula, or the price is coming from a query, or different other possibilities. If I go to color, for example, where I have three blocks, which is red, light, and light red and yellow, then this is the name of my selections, and then based on those selections, I can say, well, in the case I select the color red, then the item I would like to see in my bill of material is the ink 3910, for example. But if I select another one, then it should be this or this other. If I do double click here, you can see the details of my rule. It's quite simple. It's a kind of query where I'm simply say, well, in the case in this parameter, which is called color, if I select red, then the item to be included in the bill of material is ink 3910. When I select then light red, then is this other one. And when I select yellow, then the ink is 2910N01. Okay. We can, for example, what will happen or what is the consequence of selecting some dimensions or sizes, then we see, well, I have other variants or set parameter where I have, which is the top. The top is one part, of course, of my item. And then if I do click here in the top, then we can see, well, the quantity of the material is something we will call the quantity of the top. In this case, it's in a parameter called top. It will come from the width divided in the prof length and then multiply it by a factor, which is in this case 5. I can do a check here and the system takes some predefined values and show me here what is the calculation. So you start to see here, in general, I start to define some rules, variants, which I will later on include in my calculation. Okay, what about the accessories? Remember, I included a rule to make both available in the case we select meta profile length with 30. But only the square if we select a different one. So first, of course, I select here, or I define here my selections. Of course, if I select square, then it will be one item code called handle 1, but if I select round, then it will be handle 2. So this is item codes to be considered in the bill of material. But then, in the case of the round, I have selected or I have included a rule, and I say only visible if the the prof length is 30. Okay, otherwise then this is not available. So this kind again of rules could be defined here. Of course, when we are defining, adding, and working with the structure, we can always click in test, and the system will show us, okay, what do we have. If I click here in accessories, then in this case I see 20, only the square, but if I select 30 and then I go to accessories, then I see the other one is available, then pricing, and then also you see the description depending on my selection. So then we see how our example is finally working. Once we define the different variants and rules, then if I come back to my item structure, here I will show you the details how the system knows exactly what to change in the bill of material and more. Example, here in the ink, by default, we have an item code, which is the dark red ink. Always we define a default structure, default items in the bill of materials. But, and here is the magic with the product configurator, let me expand this for you. You see, some of the fields we have in this screen includes a kind of yellow C. It is quite light, but anyway, you can see in the position, in the item, in the quantity, in some other fields, of course. But in the case of the item, there is something else. There is a kind of S. If I click here, then you see I'm able to relate to these specific fields variants, formulas, or others. In this case, I have a variant, which is color 2. And color 2, remember, it's where I have the different colors to be selected. Then the red one, the yellow, or the light red one. Of course, I can click here and see all my variants, not only for this item, but then also for others which I can reuse and more. If I go then, for example, to the steel sheet, in this case, I don't have anything at the item code, but then what I would like to modify is the quantity of the material depending on my selection. Of course, if the length is 20 or 22 or 30, then the quantity of material will be different. So if I click here, in this case, the system is calling to a variant called top, where I set a formula, and top depends, of course, on the selection of the length, but additionally multiply it by a factor of 5 and more. So then the system understands how to consider the different variants are defined in the product configurator at the time we decide to create a work order from a sales order by using the product configurator. We can not only affect the bill of material, we can also affect the routing based on the selection on the configuration. And it makes sense because, of course, if we have a lot of material to process, then the duration of the operation could be different than if we select an standard item. We can also include some scripts. I have it here. If I do double click, I'm calling, and this is a quite small and simple script when I'm defining, well, the description of my operation will depend on the width, and then the width one again in millimeters and so on. But you can also see here, let me expand then to make it easy. In most of the fields we have in the operation screen, then we have this yellow C again, so we can affect the time of the operation for setup or for producing the different pieces, overlapping, and many other fields related with the operation because of our selection by using the product configurator. So it's very dynamic, and it allows you to define all the rules you need to produce your item based on variance definitions, and at the end, of course, on the selection your customers are doing by using the product configurator. Something also interesting here, if I go to the menu and then in production, then you see we have a folder here in the menu, which is the product configurator, where I can see the list of all the configurations we have done, which we can reuse because of new customers and more. But here we can also create formulas, tables, and cross-reference. In my example, let me come back to our example in the item structure. Then if I go to the master data, one of my selection, which was, I think, the width, and if I click here in width 1, which is this variant or this parameter, I have a default value. I have here a formula to calculate the price. This is 1.5. We base it on the width we select. But if I come here, then you see there is a cross-reference. So from where the system will take the values to show me then the drop-down. In this case, you can include a table or others. I have included one. If I click here, then you see cross-reference where I have colors, diameter, and width. If I go to width, in this case, instead of a table, then the system is looking for information I have in the database. So this is simply a query to show then the values. But I'm also able not only to create queries and then directly to a table in the database. We can go, for example, if I go click here in diameter, we can define values. If this is another cross-reference, use it for for other examples, but then you can see, well, this is then the values I'm able to display by using my drop-down. Or if I click in color, then I have white, yellow, orange, black. It is another way to show then the value. So you have many different options. You can also create user-defined tables in SAP Business One, and then you can create your small query to call to those values directly in a drop-down and more. If I come back to the menu and then click here in production and then product configurator, again, you have here the possibility to call to the cross-reference you have to your formulas, tables, and more. Thank you for your interest. Please visit our website beasgroup.com for more information. I hope you have now a better picture with the possibilities we provide with the BEAS product configurator.